Those who uncover the meaning of these statements will not experience death. Jesus, the Gospel of Thomas, saying 1. I love the Gospel of Thomas. I've been reading it a lot the past couple days. I got it a few months ago when I started deep diving on my mystical Christianity journey. And ever since I've gone on this mystical journey, spiritual science, there's been one law, the law of one. Not the mirror principle, not the 7 hermetic principles. This is the one law that has helped me truly understand why my suffering, my mental suffering, my emotional suffering, why my suffering was manifesting, why I could only feel like shit all the time. Now, the inner world, right, the internal state, that was important. And I talked about that in my previous video about the mirror principle. But how you live in the inner world, right, your internal state, very important. How you act in the outer world, just as important. And so the law of one is the law that basically keeps us aligned with our truth, with our true nature, and keeps us aligned with peace, with bliss, with oneness. When we stray away from the law of one, the law of oneness, the law of unity, the law of love, when you stray away from the law of one, you are misaligned. And that misalignment is separation. And that separation can only materialize as suffering. It can only do that. Here's the thing, guys. All suffering comes from separation. Separation from what? Well, here's the thing. We are eternal beings. We are spirit. We are fractals of source consciousness. We are divine. And that divinity is within all of us because God is within all of us. God is within everything. God is the great creator, the creator of all. And so, since God is everything in everyone, the Hermetists like to say that the all, that's how they refer to God, they say that the all is all, and all, everyone, is in the all. So God is all, and all are in God. So how could there be any separation between us and God? Can't. Okay, so that's number 1, separation from God. Number 2 is separation from others. This is when loneliness, depression, stuff like that really starts kicking in when you can't connect with other people. We're social creatures. Having that separation from others is not good, whether that's due to distance, due to loneliness, right? Due to just distancing yourself because of your anxiety or your, however you're perceiving yourself, whatever programming that you have that's keeping you blocked, whether that's because of fear, whatever it is, keeping yourself separate from others, distancing yourself from others, judging others. Judgment is huge in the law of one. Judgment will keep you in the negative polarity. And we're going to get deeper into this. I just want to give you an idea of it. So there's there's separation from God. There's separation from others. Here is probably the most critical one that most people are missing. Separation from yourself. Whew. I think we've all heard of shadow work. I feel like anybody that's been on their personal development journey for a decent amount of time now, I don't think I heard about shadow work until about 6-12 months into my journey. But I think anybody who's been on personal development for a bit amount of time, or anyone who's in the psychology, personal development space, or the spiritual personal development space, if you're into Carl Jung, if you're into Carl Jung at all, I personally haven't gotten into too much of Carl Jung's work, but I do really like the work of his that I have consumed. I think he's an excellent psychologist, and I really want to learn more about him. Carl Jung was super tapped in, but separation from yourself. This is the shadow. The shadow is the part of yourself that is in the darkness. It is in the darkness. It is not in the light. Thing is, guys, whenever we push something away, we judge it, we distance ourselves from it. That whether that's a part of ourselves, we distance ourselves from a part of ourselves. Maybe we did something, you know, like I'll share a very vulnerable story right now with you. Back in back in 8th grade, I was just like super like sick in the head, and my like brain like didn't work, and I only thought with my dick because I would like wake up and I'd like watch porn like fat first thing in the morning. So one day I was thinking with my dick, on the bus, right, and there was this girl who I thought was mad cute, and I'm gonna just say this, like her butt was big, right? I was in 8th grade, so it's fine. She was in 7th at the time. Sounds kind of weird now, but whatever. I'm like, yo, you know what I mean? And so me being like down bad, like hornball, who's like low key misogynistic. You know, I didn't realize it then, but before like freshman year of high school, before I was like 14, 15, I had some like closeted misogyny. I'm not gonna lie. And I brought that to light, and I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on? This is gross. But yeah, guys, one day after school, I kid you not, like I literally like no words spoken, like no interaction with her. We probably had like 1 or 2 conversations, if that. Just grabbed her butt one day. Disgusting, right? I'm just bleh. Anyways, that's what I did, right? And I immediately like regretted it. And like I think the day after, like I'm pretty sure her mom or her sister like came and like walked her home every single day from like the bus stop, like for the rest of the year. And I think there was like a month or 2 left in the school year. So that made me feel like a piece of shit, which it should. Karma is a bitch. Karma will get your ass, you know? But a few years later in high school, I was, there was a girl I was messing with at the time. And, like, out of nowhere, the memory of, like, my doing this to that girl when I was in 8th grade, it just flooded up. And I just got hit with such, like, guilt, shame, regret. You know, like, I know that everything happens for a reason. I love everything that has happened to me. I know that God's will is perfect. I regret nothing in my life, but if there's one thing I could change, it would be that. It would be not touching that girl like that. Because now I have to live with forever the fact that men probably aren't shit to her because of me, right? It's like I fueled the programming that maybe she didn't have set in her right away. Maybe I solidified that programming. Maybe she's traumatized now because of me. And that's something that I have to live with. You know what I mean? And it still sits with my heart a bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's not easy talking about this, but, you know, it was just very difficult for me in that moment. This was a few years ago. I think I was, in junior year of high school. Yeah. So this is a few years ago. So I was 17, I think, at this point. And, the girl I was messing with at the time, she like just told me, she was like, you know, Jaden, like, I obviously don't support that you did this, but obviously you feel very bad about it. That isn't who you are anymore. You value women. You value that, you know, like, you have to forgive yourself, basically. That's what she said. That's basically how it went down. And it was hard because I didn't want to forgive I didn't feel like I deserved forgiveness. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like I deserved it because I thought that what I did was so bad. You know, I thought that I caused trauma for somebody else, that it can be the reason that like men aren't shit to her, whatever it is. And that just sucks, you know? That an action that I took in the past can have this much weight on me, you know what I mean? And I think this is, you know, this is a funny like little tangent, but I seen a tweet like a month ago on Twitter, and it said karma isn't real. Someone will ruin your life and they'll still be like living it up or something like that. And then I responded to that tweet and I said, the problem with this tweet is that the hook is wrong. First of all, karma is real. And they said they'll do this thing to you, they'll hurt you and still be living it up. Just because you're not physically seeing the karma coming back to them doesn't mean it hasn't come back. You go murder somebody and let me know, like, tell me there's no consequences. Like, murder without getting caught, like, no prison. You're gonna tell me there's no mental consequences? There's no emotional consequences? You're gonna tell me there's no inner turmoil inside of that person for taking a life? That's karma. And this kind of just basically brings all of it back, right, to the law of one, to the positive and negative polarity. You know, like, everything that we do creates karma, right? Every action that we take is positively or negatively polarized. It is one or the other. There's only two paths. And so, if you build negative karma by taking misaligned action, you will stay in separation and you will continue to suffer. And if you don't forgive yourself, if you don't bring love, if you don't bring light, if you don't bring unity to those shadow parts of yourself, you know, that part of myself that I distance away, that I was like, oh no, you suck, you don't deserve forgiveness. No, I can't do that. I gotta bring that part of myself into light. I gotta see that that part of myself was very damaged, not in the right mindset. He had a very unhealthy perspective when it came to looking at women. He had a closeted misogynistic viewpoint, that's for sure. He had a objectification viewpoint, that's for sure. He had a I'm above women viewpoint. I want to control women viewpoint. And there are just so many things that I understand why I did that. I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying that it's okay, but I understand. I'm coming at it with that love, right? And when you come at yourself with that love and that forgiveness, honestly, like, I'm feeling it right now. Like, I feel lighter, kind of just telling myself that I understand, that I forgive myself. I accept that that was something that I did and that I will never hurt somebody like that again. I will never cause somebody that pain again. And it is only my job to help people as much as I possibly can, which is exactly why I'm making this video right now. So yeah, that's a bit about my story and about, you know, some of the things I've had to work through internally. But when it comes to the law of one, there's basically let's just get into the philosophy, right? Let's just break it down. After we break this down, I want to come at you guys with a few quotes. 3 sayings from the Gospel of Thomas and 4 from the Didache. So I'm not going to write them down because I don't feel like it. All I'm going to do is, after this, I'm going to riff off to you. I'm going to spit some game that the Didache and that Jesus be spitting, because I love the Didache and I love Jesus, so that's where we are. I'm a mystical Christian, deal with it. Yeah, so let's get into the law of one. So like I was saying earlier, guys, the law of one is the law of oneness, the law that we are all one in the great creator, that the creator is one, that there is only one life, there's only God living all of us, right? And some of these concepts are like kind of hard to grasp. Just stay with me, all right, just stay with me. Basically, the law of one came to us through a channeled text called the Raw Material. And the Raw Material, I don't have like the full story, but I can give you guys a bit of what I know. I haven't actually, so this is like a book. I haven't actually read or listened to the book yet. I've just learned a lot of the teachings from another spiritual guide. But I actually am about to start like listening to the Law of One. There's actually like the whole book. It's like super long. So preface, super long. But it's actually like available complete for free here on YouTube. So I'm going to check that out actually after I get out of here. And I go on my walk. I'm going to go hit the gym, baby. I'm not feeling that sore today. So I'm going to go back to back today. You know what I mean? Oh, excuse me. Okay, so let's get into it. So Law of One is basically a channeled text. And it was channeled by an entity named Ra. And Ra is a social memory complex, which basically kind of means that it's kind of like a collective consciousness of a lot of souls that came together and basically like infused their souls to be one like complex, one body almost. You know, it's kind of weird, but they didn't actually have a body because they're on a high level of consciousness. That is not that important. But basically, the Law of One is a channeled text that shows how the universe works, basically, from a very like metaphysical perspective. extreme metaphysical perspective. And so I'm not going to talk too much about it. If you want to look into it yourself, go do that. But yeah, let's just spit some game at you guys. So I have here the positive and the negative polarity. And I want you to immediately get this into your head. This does not mean good or bad. No. No. Okay? This does not mean good or evil. No. No. You know, actually, I forgot to write this. See this? Non-duality. Duality, good versus evil, light versus darkness, unity versus separation, whatever. This is duality. Duality is that of the negative polarity because duality is an illusion. Here's the thing, guys. So we have the positive and the negative polarity. The positive polarity, see here, the path of that which is, represents all that God is, all that the Creator is. The Creator is love. The Creator is light. The Creator is unity. There is no duality in the Creator because there's only unity. There's only oneness. There is life. God is life. God is abundance. There's service to others. Power for others. Right? And so God is love. God is light. God is unity. God is power. God is abundance. God is wisdom. God is strength. All these amazing things. And so the positive polarity, the path of that which is, represents that all God is. It is the true nature of reality. And when we live in alignment with that true nature, we have peace, we have joy, we attract grace and manifest more abundance in our life. Awesome. Sounds cool if you ask me. The negative polarity, the path of that which is not. Now this sounds weird. It's like, what do you mean there's a path of that which is not? So you're walking like an invisible path or something? I don't get it. Exactly. It's an invisible path. It's an illusion, not real. The negative polarity represents all that God is not. Separation, fear, darkness, death, duality. God can't be any of these things. God is eternal. How can God be death? God is all of life. So how can God only serve the self? God is always serving everyone. God is one, so how can there be a dualistic standpoint or any separation? God is love, so how can there be fear? God is light, so how can there be darkness? You see, all of these things are actually polarities, right? And here's the thing. Every single thing over here is what's called a projected polarity, which is why it's an illusion. Because it's not actually real. It can't sustain itself. We can't perceive darkness without light. I don't know it's dark outside right now, unless I know that I have light in my room, which I do. Right? I couldn't look at this window right now and see, oh yeah, it's dark as hell outside, if I didn't have this first reference point of knowing that my room is lit. You get what I'm saying? I can't understand true love without experiencing true fear, true hate, true judgment. The opposite of love is kind of weird. Is it fear? Is it hate? Is it judgment? I say it's kind of like all three of them and none of them because love has no true opposite, right? But basically, nothing here can live without the other opposite. I want you to think about this. Physics teaches us this concept. Cold doesn't actually exist. Cold is merely the absence of heat, which is the truth. And so the heat is the true substance, and then cold is the projected polarity. Okay? Cool. And so that means that unity is the true substance, and separation is the projected polarity. Love is the true substance. Fear or hate or judgment, projected polarity. Light is the true substance. Darkness, projected polarity. And so this means that all of the negative polarity, illusion, none of it's real, which is why it's called the path of that which is not. But just because it's an illusion doesn't mean it's not valid. Okay, now this kind of takes a bit to get, to understand conceptually and to actually integrate and to experience it in your life. But I want you to think about that, right? Like I told you guys earlier, I can't understand that it's dark outside without knowing that it's lit, right? I can't know what true like cold is if I haven't experienced heat. You know what I mean? It's like if I've only experienced one polarity, how can I ever know the other one? How can God ever know that God is true unity without God experiencing separation? How does God know what unity is? How can God experience that unity if it hasn't at first experienced separation in order to have that contrast? How can God understand its love if it doesn't understand fear or hate or judgment? Thing is, guys, it's not possible to understand anything without another reference point that is the opposite of that thing. You can't understand soft without understanding hard. You can't understand light without understanding dark. You can't understand white without understanding black. You just can't do it. It just doesn't work like that. And so you need both the positive polarity and the negative polarity, because both are required to see both, to understand both, to experience both, to know both, and thus to choose one. That is really what the point of this like third density incarnation is, right? For as many lifetimes as we'll be third density beings or beings of like Earth, we'll have to choose. Do we want to be positively polarized? Do we want to be a light worker, a being of light, a being of love? Or do we want to be negatively polarized? Do we want to be an entity of darkness? This is like demons. Demons are negative entities. Yeah. They're negatively polarized entities that attack us through thoughts, through emotions, by interrupting our internal state. And by manipulating our internal, they then create external change in the reality, right? By manipulating the mirror principle. The law of one is crucial. And if you can understand that your separation from God, your separation from others, your separation from yourself, if you can understand that your separation from any of these things is causing you suffering, and that once you bring those things out of the shadow, out of the darkness, into the light, and you can love and you can accept those things, that's when your life will start changing. Once I started bringing things into the light, like I'm so sorry. I've been learning about the law of one for about the past 6 months now or so. 5.5, 6 months now. And about 2 months ago, 3 months ago actually, I just got this like oneness experience. It was a very mystical experience for me actually. On August 6th, I was like out one day walking. I was listening to an Aaron Apke lecture. I was smoking some cannabis. And it was just like such a profound like, oh wow, ego is an illusion, separation is illusion, all this is the matrix, there's only God, there's only love, there's only oneness. And it was just so beautiful, and I just felt like so connected to like all the trees and the earth. I was like outside, and it was so beautiful. But basically, like the point of that story was that when you truly feel like you're living the law of one, it shows up. Yesterday, this is such a great example. Donald Trump won the election. Now, when I woke up at like 2 a.m. and I think I was already up. Yeah, I was already up. I woke up at like 12 last night. Yeah, that's actually what it was. I woke up at 12 last night, and I was up from like 1 to 2 doing some reading. Actually reading the Gospel of Thomas. I'm going to read you some sayings after I tell you the story. And then I went to like Disney Plus because I wanted to watch something on there, and like go to bed to it. And so I see like the little like live streams that Disney Plus has, and I saw that the election was there. And so I click on it, and I see that it was like Harris 194 and Trump had like 260, and you need 270 to win. Or I think Trump was at 266. And I was like, oh shit, Trump got this shit in the bag. Damn. Huh. And it was like so neutral for me. And I'll just give you like a bit of context. So like, I grew up liberal. I grew up like, and I'm not a Republican now. I don't actually. Here's the thing, guys. Like, politics is duality. Politics is duality. Republican or liberal. One or the other. You see how this is duality? You see how this is separation? That's why I actually, like, I didn't vote. I don't give into politics. I don't give into separation. Because that's just not what I want to do. I don't want to take action enforcing separation in my world. That's not what I'm about. So I didn't vote, right? And I didn't really care who won because, one, that's not my decision. That's God's decision. But two, it's like, I know that whoever wins, this is God's will. And so it's like, yeah, you know, I'm just going to ball out. I'm just going to roll with whatever it is. You know, like, each party has its benefits. Honestly, that's genuine how I view it. But, you know, me like a year ago, would have been so fucking triggered by Trump winning. You don't even know that. I would have been just like bland and gross and shit like that. And like yesterday morning, I had like some family members hit me up, like our family group chat, and my sister like texted me, like kind of like, not really like super tripping about it, but just, you know, a little like down that like Trump won instead of Harris. And I understood, you know, and I definitely understand where my family was coming from, and I wanted to like show up for them and like have that space for them. But me internally, I'm like, neutral. There is no charge. Trump won? Okay. Harris won? Okay. No charge at all. And that is what living from the heart, living from love truly looks like. You know, like, I actually caught it. It was interesting. I was only watching like Trump like run his mouth for like 5-10 minutes. But in that he had said, you know, a lot of people have come up to me and said there was a reason. No. Something along the lines of like, God made sure that you survived that death. You know, whatever. We all know that Trump got 2 assassination attempts. And a lot of people said to him that it was basically God's will for him to live through those attempts so he could become president. That was basically what they were saying, right? That's not what he said in those words. I just don't remember it. But basically, that's what he said. And it was so interesting because I told you guys after I was reading the Gospel of Thomas, I was also reading the Book of Enoch that morning. And then after I did my reading, I like got back in bed because it was like 2 a.m. And then I hopped on my phone. And so when I was reading the Book of Enoch, there was a quote from it that says, there's 2 quotes actually, that says, from inception to conclusion, no manifestation of God's creation undergoes change. That's 1 Enoch, chapter 1, 2.2. And then there's also, there exists no alteration. All transpires as ordained by God. That's 1 Enoch, chapter 1, 5.2. And so, like, from those 2 quotes, I, like, really got it, like, solidified in my head. Like, there is only God's will, and God's will is perfect. There's only perfection, right? And then I see that, and I hear someone basically saying that it was God's will for Trump to live so he could be president, and I'm like, how can you argue with that? Man got shot twice. How do you argue with this? So, yeah. When you're truly living from the heart, you know, it doesn't mean that you are okay with somebody's actions. You know, it's not like I'm here, like, I'm not a Trump supporter. Nah. Nah. I don't like Donald Trump. I don't like him as a person. But do I think he could be a good president? Actually, I do. And that's kind of like being able to separate your personal feelings about somebody to like what they are, what they stand for, and like what they can do, what they're capable of. It's being able to like separate how you personally feel about somebody and like the objectiveness of what they can do. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's kind of how I feel about Trump. It's like, yeah, I don't think Trump is that great of a person. I low-key think that Trump might be on like a path. I think ever since Trump got shot, this motherfucker might be out here. Like, after I got off the watching like Trump's like, you know, campaign thing, whatever, after like on the election day, I was like, yo, after I heard him like talk about like the God's will thing I mentioned earlier, I was like, yo, let me fuck around and see Trump turn into like a light worker or some shit. That'd be a day. That would be a day. That'd be a crazy story arc, right? Tell me that wouldn't be a crazy redemption arc. This motherfucker Trump gets shot twice, right? Lives, gets into office, and he's like, yo, this is God's will. I need to only do God's will now. And then this dude just like flips polarity and like hops to the positive, and he's like, yo, gang, we here now. Let's get to the work. And I'm like, yo, that's crazy, dog. You know what I mean? That'd be pretty insane. All right, I'm doing a lot of rambling right now. Let's get into these quotes. Okay, so here I have like my pocket journal with my notes. Okay, so I'm gonna read you a few sayings from the Didache and a couple from the Gospel of Thomas. So the Didache is basically, it's like a holy text accredited to the 12 apostles. Now I'm not sure if the apostles themselves wrote it or if they had like their scribes write it for them, but this is like the gospel of the 12 apostles. And then I'm also going to read you a few from the Gospel of Thomas, which is another gospel, another Gnostic text, which is basically like 114 sayings attributed to Jesus. And it's full of like non-dual wisdom, parables, mystical knowledge, like stuff like that. It's pretty sick, but let's get into it. So this is the Didache. Okay, and this is a very short book. I'd highly recommend the Didache. I think it's like $1 or $2 on Kindle. So if you want to cop this, recommend. You can read this in like 20 minutes. Okay, so this is chapter 1, 1:1 and 1:2 I'm about to read you. There are two paths, one of life and one of death. And the difference is great between the two paths. Now the path of life is this, and I want you to listen out. If you're a Christian or you grew up Christian, this might sound familiar. Now the path of life is this. First, thou shalt love the God who made thee, thy neighbor as thyself, and all things that thou wouldest not should be done unto thee, do not thou unto another. Okay. So that last part's a little hard to say because like the translation, like the way it's worded, but basically what it says is the path of life is loving God, loving your neighbor, and only doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. Huh. I wonder where we've heard that. Maybe in, what was it, Mark 30:31? And Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your strength, all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. It was also, I forgot where he said that. I think this was somewhere in Matthew, where he said, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. That is the golden rule. That is the law of one. That is the law of one so simplified, okay? It is the law of love. It is the golden rule. Love God, right? Unity with God. Love your neighbor, unity with others, as yourself, which means you also need to love yourself. Unity with yourself, okay? All important. Love God, love your neighbor, love yourself. And don't do unto your neighbor that you wouldn't have them do unto you. Do good actions, and that good stuff will come to you. If you don't want anything bad coming to you, any bad karma coming to you, don't give any out. Cool, okay, that makes sense. So that's like a parallel between the Bible and the Didache. Okay. Now I'm going to read you about the path of death. But the path of death is this. First of all, it is evil and full of cursing. There are found murders, adulteries, lusts, fornication, thefts, idolatries, soothsaying, sorceries, robberies, false witnesses, hypocrisies, double-mindedness. Ooh, double-mindedness. I think that means duality. Craft, pride, malice, self-will, covetousness? I don't know what that means. Filthy talking, jealousy, audacity, pride, arrogance. And then this is the second part. There are they who persecute the good, lovers of a lie, not knowing the reward of righteousness, not cleaving to the good, nor to righteous judgment, watching not for the good, but for the bad, from whom meekness and patience are afar of. loving things that are vain, following after recompense, having no compassion on the needy, nor laboring for him that is in trouble, not knowing him that made them. Whew, not knowing God. Damn. Murderers of children, corrupters of the image of God, who turn away from him that is in need, who oppress him that is in trouble, unjust judges of the poor, erring in all things. From all these children may ye be delivered. Damn. Damn, that's real. But yeah, this is basically what the path of death is. Separation, judgment, ego. Okay, cool. So that's what the Didache has to say. Let us refer now to the Gospel of Thomas. Go there real quick. Okay. So which ones are we going to say here? Okay. So I'll start with the opening line of the Gospel of Thomas. So this is like the little preface, and then this is the first saying. So the first little preface. These are the secret sayings that the living Jesus spoke, and Didymus Judas Thomas recorded. This is the first saying. He stated, he being Jesus, those who uncover the meaning of these statements will not experience death. And so what Jesus was saying was that the people who uncover the meaning of the statements in the gospel, oh, excuse me, oh my gosh, I'm burping so much more. Those who uncover the meanings of the statements in the Gospel of Thomas will not experience the negative polarity. They will not experience the suffering of the 3D plane. They will not experience the death of the body, because they'll be so tapped into their eternal God essence, their true nature, that they'll only have eternal life. Okay, so saying number 3, Jesus conveyed, if your leaders proclaim, behold, the Father's realm is in the heavens, then the birds of the sky will precede you. If they declare, it resides in the sea, then the fish will precede you. Instead, the Father's realm exists both within and outside of you. When you fathom yourselves, you will then be recognized, and you will realize that you are offspring of the living Father. The Father's realm exists both within and outside of you. This is unity. This is oneness. See? Unity. All is one. Okay. Let's go to saying number 22. Actually, I had a little note here for saying 3. What was my note for saying 3? Let me see what I had here. Okay. Let me say this with you. God is already within you. Without embracing oneness with God and our fellow man, we are forever dissatisfied, constantly searching the external to fill the void left by an unknowing of God. Damn. Hold on, let me read that again. God is already within you. Without embracing oneness with God and our fellow man, we are forever dissatisfied, constantly searching the external to fill the void left by an unknowing of God. Sheesh. That's real. Okay. Well, let's get into saying 22 now. All right. Saying 22. Jesus observed some nursing infants. He said to his disciples, these suckling infants resemble those who enter the Father's realm. They inquired, will we then enter the Father's realm as infants? So what Jesus is saying is that babies look a lot like the people who enter the kingdom of heaven. What does Jesus mean by that? Innocence, truth, being based in the true nature of reality, oneness. Let's see what Jesus keeps saying. Jesus responded, when you merge the two into one, when you align the inner and the outer with the inner, and the upper with the lower, and when you merge the male and female into a singular entity, so that the male is no longer exclusively male, and the female is no longer solely female, when you exchange an eye for an eye, hand for a hand, foot for a foot, an image for an image, then you shall enter the realm. Okay, that was a lot of blabber. The hell does Jesus mean by that? Good question. So first, he said these suckling infants resemble those that enter the kingdom. Innocence, right? One with God, since they have yet to develop conditioning. We as people are divine. Okay, like that's our nature. That's our true nature. Spirit is our true nature. Just as much as we are physical of the body, we are spirit of divinity. Cool, of the spirit. We are divine of the spirit. There we go. Okay, awesome. Babies, right? Babies are born as tapped into oneness as possible because they haven't yet developed programming or developed conditioning. They haven't developed an ego yet. Ego doesn't really start developing until around age 4, I believe. And it doesn't really start developing until age 8, I think. Something like that. But Jesus is saying that innocence, that oneness with God, due to lack of conditioning, that is how you get back into the kingdom. You shed your conditioning, you get back to that oneness. And so when Jesus said you merge the two into one, you align the inner and the outer with the inner, the upper with the lower. That is bringing anything, any dualistic standpoint into oneness, into unity, non-duality. When you merge the male and female into a singular entity, still this is kind of like duality, but I want you to think about this. The seventh Hermetic principle of gender. Gender meaning generation, or to generate, or to create. Principle of gender says that everything has its masculine and its feminine property because masculine and feminine are required to come together to create anything. Just like a baby, right? A man and a woman are required to create a baby. The masculine and the feminine are required to create anything. And so saying that, right, when you bring the male and the female together so that they're no longer separate, but that they're one, that is creation, that's conscious, right? That is non-duality, that is unity, that is love. When you exchange an eye for an eye, a hand for a hand, a foot for a foot, an image for an image. I like to perceive that as giving and receiving, how giving and receiving are one. You're in flow with giving and receiving. That's not something I put here, but that is the positive polarity. The positive polarity is a healthy flow of giving and receiving. I'll write this down. And the negative polarity is more about take and keeping. So they take and keep. The positive polarity is giving and receiving. The negative polarity is taking and keeping. So this is like in and out, constant flow. The negative polarity is like mind. So what Jesus is saying is that when you shatter your dualistic lens, right? When you get back into non-duality, when you get into unity, into oneness, when you see the true flow of life, when you see the giving and receiving, when you understand that all truly is one, then you shall enter the kingdom of heaven. Okay, cool. Awesome. And now, okay, 2 more sayings and then we're going to close out. All right, gang? I appreciate y'all for being here this long. Okay. Jesus said, 2 individuals will recline on a couch. One will die, one will live. Salome said, "Who are you, sir? You have ascended my couch and eaten from my table as though you are someone." Jesus said to her, "I'm the one who comes from the complete. I was granted from the things of my Father. I'm your disciple. For this reason I say, if one is whole, one will be filled with light. But if one is divided, one will be filled with darkness." See, Jesus is saying here that if one is whole, if one is in oneness, true knowing, true unity, then you will be filled with light, full of love, full of light. But if one is divided, if you are in any kind of separation, any separation perceived, darkness, you're allowing darkness to come in. Think about this. When you're unified, right? Think of it like a circle. I don't know why I'm trying to like visualize this when I literally have a whiteboard right here. Okay. So, that one's trash. Let's say this circle is like your life. And this is complete unity, right? Oneness, whole. The circle is complete. And so there's only light inside of it, right? See, there's light here. But now we get some separation. And that allows for darkness to start seeping in. Then we get some more separation. We get more darkness seeping in. Then we get some more separation. And you see how over time, as you continue to dive into separation, you have so much darkness inside of you. And so how do we get rid of this? Shadow work. Bringing the darkness into the light, forgiving, accepting, and becoming one again. Not keeping God distant from yourself, not keeping others distant from yourself, not keeping yourself distant from yourself. Judging no one, loving everyone. That is the way. And so I'll lead you off with this this final saying. This is like a longer saying, but I'm not actually going to read this whole thing. I'm just going to read the first line to you, and then we're going to wrap up. Saying 47. Jesus said, "A person cannot ride 2 horses or bend 2 bows. A servant cannot serve 2 masters. Otherwise, that servant will honor one and offend the other." Here's my little note. You cannot walk both paths. Life or death. Unity or separation. That which is or that which is not. Choose one or you do an injustice to both. Not choosing leads to being neutrally charged and having no polarization to do work in consciousness. Without polarization, we have no charge. Thus, we can't create change in the world. So I'll explain what I meant by that last part and then we'll wrap up. In the Law of One, Ra, the channeled entity, talks about how consciousness needs polarization, charge to do work. And work is like the physics definition of work, to create change in the environment. And so basically what Ra is saying is that your consciousness, in order to change consciousness, create work in consciousness, right? Everything is consciousness. Your consciousness needs to have a certain amount of charge, a certain amount of polarization, right? And this is how you gain that polarization. When you walk the path of positive polarity, you gain positive charge. The positive polarity is about allowing free will for all. I'll put that here, free will. The negative polarity is about infringing upon free will. But this has to be through manipulation. It can't just be like, take. It can't just be like, you can't like gain true negative polarity through just like walking up to a woman and just like, I don't know where I was going with that. Basically, the person who you're trying to gain negative polarity from, you basically have to impart on their free will. It kind of has to be like they chose it themselves almost. So it's like a cult leader. This is a perfect example actually. Most cult leaders like portray themselves as like light workers or people who are there for you, right? But most cult leaders are negatively polarized beings. And they just want to lead you in, right? And they want to show you that, you know, this is your choice. And this is, oh yeah, we're going to have fun and we're going to do this together. And you can drink this Kool-Aid, you know, and whatever. But they're making it think that it's actually their choice. They're manipulating them. They're like, basically, if someone joins a cult of their free will, it was because they chose to, due to the programming that the cult leader put onto them. But basically, in order to do work in consciousness, you know, I was actually talking to, I had a coaching call the other day with one of my students named Teddy. And he was telling me about like negative thoughts coming up. And I was telling him about how, like, a bit of the law of one. It's like if a negative thought comes up, then you can immediately neutrally polarize it, right? You can neutralize it. Remember I was telling you about, like, if you don't choose one, you do neither one justice, right? You do an injustice to both because you're neutral. You're not actually charged. You're not polarized if you're constantly choosing one or the other, right? If you're constantly going back and forth, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, you're not actually creating charge, where you have to keep choosing positive or you have to keep choosing negative if you want to create charge. But if you keep going back and forth, that's neutral, right? And neutral has no charge, therefore it can't create work. It can't make change. It can't create anything in the environment. It can't manipulate consciousness. And so if we want to manipulate consciousness, if we want to create change, we need to choose a polarity. We cannot be neutrally polarized. Because if we're neutrally polarized by staying in between, then there will be no work. Nothing will happen. And I was talking to Teddy about this in terms of like managing his negative thoughts. I'm like, yo, Teddy, you can't control your first thought. It's okay. But you know what? You can control your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, right? And so when that first negative thought comes up, meet it with the positive one. When the darkness comes up, when the fear comes up, when the judgment comes up, meet it with love instead. Simple. Oh, you suck, Jaden. You're a piece of shit. No one fucking cares about the law of one. You're stupid. Who cares? You're an idiot. Why would anyone watch this fucking video? You're an idiot. You're stupid. And I'd be like, well, that's just not true. I'm actually extremely intelligent. And I know there are a lot of people who would resonate with this because it resonates with me. And I know there are a lot of more people who are out there like me. So I'm just going to put myself out there and, you know, if people receive it, awesome. If they don't, is what it is. I'm going to keep trying. You see how I just met my first negative thought with the positive one? And by meeting that negative thought with the positive thought, boom, they cancel each other out. Neutral, nothing happened. And now I can even have a negative situation, so a negative thought arises. Instead of allowing it to be negative by not addressing it, or by addressing it once and allowing it to be neutral, how about we address it twice and allow it to be positive? So we address it the first time, neutralizes, and then we give ourselves that reinforcement again. I love the stuff I'm doing. I love the content creating. I love that God has allowed me to like serve people through this way of like giving my knowledge, and I feel like so fulfilled and so purposeful through it. It's just so beautiful. Wow, now I feel really good. That's cool. Yeah, guys. The path of that which is versus the path of that which is not. If you want me to talk more about the law of one, certainly will. I'd love to. I'm also going to be making more videos about how Jesus himself teaches the law of one. So if you want to hear more about that, let me know. My name is Jaden. I'm here leading the movement of digital renaissance creators, digital alchemists, people who want to spread love, spread education, spread abundance, spread fulfillment, reach financial independence, doing what we love every single day. If that's something you want to be a part of, I'd appreciate if you drop a sub, drop a like, keep growing up our conscious creators community. Everything means a lot to me, guys. Appreciate all the love and support. If you're interested in learning more or working with me closer, you can check out my ebook and my one-to-one coaching offers in the second link description. If you're interested in getting more insights, like written stuff from me, you can join my free newsletter. That's the first link description. Besides that, yep, that's all I got. Those who uncover the meanings of these statements will not experience death. Do it today. Be better for it tomorrow. Stay blessed. Stay loving. Catch you on next vid. Dubs out. Buckets. Damn. Oh, wait, guys. I forgot. So, Cheryl had commented on my video from yesterday asking to, like, make shots for y'all. So, I got you, Cheryl, for y'all wins. So, when Cheryl and I, like, first, like, connected a couple months ago, Cheryl was one of my students as well for my Purposeful Entrepreneurship mini course. Or for my Purposeful Entrepreneurship course. I actually have one spot left, guys, for my Purposeful Entrepreneurship beta. So if you guys want to get my course, my like beginner's business course, half of it is like mindsets and strategies, inner work, and the other half is like business tactics and YouTube content creation and stuff like that. So if you want to get that course, you can get it for literally $20 because you're helping me with the beta. So it's like, really you're serving me more than like I'm serving you by giving you this course. So if you're interested in getting that last spot, I had 5 spots open, but 4 of them got filled up by my students. So 1 spot left. Hit that up. Hit me up. You can shoot me an email. My email's in the description. So if that's interesting to you, shoot me an email, or you can always shoot me a reply to one of my newsletters as well. Yeah. Let's hit this for Cheryl. Let me make sure y'all can see this. Yeah, there we go. This for you, Cheryl. 77 subs, baby. Woo! Fuck. Play.